Sometimes it seems to us that our world is almost completely studied. However, in reality, our knowledge is still incredibly small. In this video, I invite you to get acquainted with an informative collection and gain new information about our universe and our Earth. Enjoy watching. It may come as a surprise to you, but about 3,500 years ago, ancient Egyptians brewed beer. What it tasted like is likely known by a resident of Utah, Dylan McDonnell. Dylan McDonnell has been passionate about brewing for about 10 years. He has tried many craft recipes, and during the pandemic, he was impressed by the news of a person who baked bread using yeast that is 4,500 years old. The brewer thought, why not make beer using ancient recipes with ancient yeast? To realize his idea, he began studying the Ebers Papyrus, dated to 1550 BC. It contains many different medicinal recipes. He noted only those that mentioned beer. Collecting the recurring ingredients, he created an analog recipe for making this alcoholic beverage. The main ingredients of ancient beer were Egyptian balsam, Yemeni cedar honey, figs, black cumin, juniper, Israeli golden raisins, carob, and frankincense. The brewer found all the rare ingredients, and as a base he used purple Egyptian barley and emmer wheat, an ancient grain known in Europe as farro. Additionally, with the help of a German company that recreates ancient strains of yeast, he was able to obtain a sample of yeast taken from ceramic vessels in Israel. This strain dates back to approximately 850 BC and was likely used by the Philistines to make beer. When the brewer had everything he needed, he began brewing. The result was a tart, slightly salty beer with hints of apricot and a floral aftertaste. Admittedly, this experiment seemed quite crazy, but McDonnell still managed to achieve what he dreamed of. The Dendera Zodiac is a ceiling bas-relief from the Hathor Temple complex in the Egyptian city of Dendera. The bas-relief is presented on a square sandstone slab, measuring 2.5 meters. It was created in the 50s BC. The Dendera Zodiac is interesting not only as a work of art, but also as a unique artifact that demonstrates the ancient Egyptians' understanding of the cosmos. The bas-relief depicts all 12 signs of the zodiac, whose outlines are recognizable even today. The zodiac constellations form 36 decans, which are groups of first-magnitude stars. In other words, the Dendera Zodiac is an ancient map of the night sky. What is also surprising is that the zodiac is arranged in a circular format. At that time, it was more common to create rectangular night sky maps. The celestial dome is depicted as a disk held by 4 columns representing women. For a long time, the Dendera Zodiac remained forgotten. However, after Napoleon's Egyptian campaign, it was rediscovered. Then, the French artist and amateur Egyptologist Dominique Vivant-Denon sketched it, and in 1821 the zodiac was removed from the temple ceiling and taken to France. The artifact was placed in the National Library, and in 1922 it was moved to the Louvre, where it remains today. In New Zealand, there grows an amazing tree that has been nicknamed the walking tree. It earned this name due to its unusual appearance. The tree's trunk splits at the base, resembling legs, with one leg set back and the other forward. Looking at this tree, one gets the impression that it is in motion. Additionally, 2 of its branches are spread out as if they were arms. The tree's entire appearance is reminiscent of an Ent, the mythical beings from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings trilogy. In reality, the walking tree belongs to the species Metrosideros robusta, or northern rata. These trees are endemic to New Zealand and grow in the forests of the North and South Islands. This species is considered the tallest flowering tree, with an average height of 25 meters. From November to January, Metrosideros blooms, with its flowers having a bright red hue. A distinctive feature of this tree is its small, leathery, dark green leaves with a notch at the tips. Metrosideros robusta are also long-lived, capable of growing for up to 1,000 years. The age of the walking tree is 150 years, so it is still relatively young. The walking tree grows near the town of Karamea on the northern west coast of the South Island. Once there was a forest in this area that was cut down to create farmland. This tree survived only due to its unusual appearance. In 2024, it was awarded the title of New Zealand Tree of the Year. In 2018, French and Japanese scientists researching in Strelley Pool, Western Australia, made a sensational discovery. They found fossils of ancient microbes that are nearly 3.5 billion years old. Scientists have long been studying the earliest forms of life on our planet. It is believed that living organisms already existed during the Archean era, but science still does not have a definitive answer to the question of when and how life began. Thanks to the work of paleontologists, humanity knows that microbes existed in the Earth's primordial ocean about 4 billion years ago. However, it is quite possible that life on Earth originated even earlier. The French and Japanese scientists began their research in the western part of Australia in 2013. At that time, they discovered several unusual structures similar in shape, size, and composition to fossilized bodies of cyanobacteria and other microbes, as well as the films that bacteria form during the growth of their colonies. However, most other scientists were skeptical about this finding. For this reason, the team resumed their research, and in 2018, they again discovered the oldest microbe fossils. There was no doubt left. Life on Earth already existed 3.5 billion years ago. But the most surprising thing is that the structure of these bacteria has changed very little to this day. Despite the fact that excavations in Egypt have been going on for a very long time, archaeologists continue to make new discoveries. This time, they managed to discover a real city of the dead. In this necropolis, more than 30 tombs were found, and this number only seems small because each of them contained between 30 and 40 mummies. The necropolis is located near the city of Aswan. It is significantly different from other mass burial sites of ancient Egyptians, as it includes 10 levels. Each of the terraces was intended for different social strata. Thus, on the upper floors of the necropolis are the tombs of the ancient Egyptian elite, while at the base are the graves of ordinary poor people. In some of the tombs, archaeologists found entire families who were buried at the same time, indicating that people died from some kind of infection. Moreover, a very large number of children were buried in the city of the dead. Family members were always buried together. Amphoras decorated with patterns of grape leaves, papier-mâché made from recycled papyrus or cloth, as well as offering tables, were placed in the tombs. During the morning feast, all the tombs were illuminated. The oldest remains found in the necropolis date back to the 6th century BC, while the last burials took place in the 3rd century AD. Thus, the necropolis near the city of Aswan was actively used for 900 years. Woolly mammoths are extinct animals whose population completely disappeared about 10,000 years ago. However, thanks to scientific experiments, it is possible that in the near future, we will see these animals alive again. In 2021, representatives of the British biotechnology and genetic engineering company Colossal Biosciences announced that they plan to embark on a project to revive woolly mammoths. The project is scheduled for completion in 2028, at which time the first woolly mammoth calf is expected to be born. As genetic material, the company plans to use samples found in mammoth remains, as well as the DNA of modern Asian elephants, since their genomes are 99% identical. The embryos will then be implanted into an elephant female, who will act as a surrogate mother. The company explains that the idea of reviving mammoths and reintroducing them into the tundra will have a positive impact on the climate and help stop global warming. For a long time, the project remained only theoretical, but recently scientists have begun working on its implementation. So it is possible that very soon, woolly mammoths will once again inhabit our Earth. In 2022, biologists from the University of Western Australia made a remarkable discovery. While conducting research in Shark Bay, they found a giant meadow of underwater plants, covering an area of over 180 square kilometers. This meadow consisted of a plant known as Posidonia Australis. The unique feature of this plant is that it reproduces vegetatively, specifically by cloning itself, thereby creating an entire colony of its copies. The scientists needed to determine how many colonies this meadow consisted of. To do this, they collected numerous samples from all over the finds area. After analysis, it was revealed that the entire meadow is a single colony, which was a sensation, as the scientists had discovered the largest underwater plant in the world among all previously found. It's truly amazing that one plant could create so many copies of itself and form such a gigantic meadow. Scientists believe that it took the plant at least 4,500 years to grow to this size. Posidonia Australis is impressive, not only for its unusual, though not unique, method of reproduction. This plant also easily adapts to any conditions. The colony can withstand various temperatures and their fluctuations, high salt concentrations, and even bright light, which usually adversely affects other underwater plants, does not harm it. Schizophrenia is a fairly common mental disorder, currently affecting at least 24 million people worldwide. Those suffering from this disorder typically experience disruptions in thinking and perception, and schizophrenia is almost always accompanied by hallucinations and delusions. The cause of this disease is still unknown, but it is generally considered to be genetic. Schizophrenia most often manifests in adolescence and adulthood, and its symptoms appearing from birth are extremely rare. An astonishing and little-known fact about schizophrenia is that people born blind never suffer from this mental disorder. At first glance, this statement sounds implausible and raises many questions. Many people think this is just a coincidence, but it is not. In fact, scientists have long been studying this phenomenon, trying to explain the connection between schizophrenia and vision. It is worth noting that blind people often suffer from other mental disorders, but not from schizophrenia. Scientists have several explanations for this. According to the most popular theory, those born blind actively develop cognitive skills and aspects of thinking that are the first to suffer from schizophrenia, or even contribute to its development. However, this theory is merely a hypothesis, so why those born blind do not develop schizophrenia remains a mystery. Space never ceases to amaze with its variety of unique objects, and this time, scientists have discovered a giant cloud composed of alcohol. The discovery was made recently during the study of a cluster of clouds near two young protostars. The cloud, stretching 463 billion kilometers, slowly orbits the central star and periodically generates microwave bursts. It predominantly contains methyl alcohol, as well as small amounts of formic acid, formaldehyde, and sulfur dioxide. It might seem strange to many that there are clouds in space composed of alcohol, but in fact, this is quite normal. Methanol is found in many cosmic clouds. Moreover, it is believed that alcohol molecules play a significant role in the formation of new cosmic bodies. Scientists think that this cloud is a precursor to the birth of two new planets. Alcohol clouds are occasionally found in space. For example, in 2022, a gas and dust cloud called Sagittarius B2 was discovered in the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way, 26,000 light-years from Earth. In its composition, scientists found the largest alcohol molecule in space, isopropanol. In 1988, during excavations at the Sarag-Bulun burial ground in the Republic of Tuva, Russia, archaeologists discovered the remains of an adolescent. The body was buried in a coffin made from a larch trunk. Due to the properties of the wood and the absence of air, natural mummification occurred. The deceased adolescent's facial skin and clothing, including a leather hat and a coat made from jerboa fur, were well preserved. Nearby were also a birch bow, a quiver with arrows, and a battle axe. The presence of weapons next to the body indicated that the deceased was a young warrior. For this reason, scientists initially assumed that the remains belonged to a boy who died in the 7th century BC at the age of 12, 14 years. 30 years after the discovery of this burial, scientists resumed the study of the remains to establish the paternal lineage. When geneticists began their work, they were very surprised to find the absence of a Y chromosome in the samples, meaning that the remains could not belong to a boy. Thus, scientists concluded that the remains belonged to a girl. But whether she was indeed a warrior remains a mystery. It is quite possible that the deceased girl's relatives placed weapons in her grave during the burial rite. Mary, Queen of Scots, ruled Scotland in the 16th century. After a change of power, she had to flee to England. There, Queen Elizabeth I promised to help her, but instead, to avoid a military conflict, she imprisoned Mary in Sheffield Castle. The former Queen of Scotland spent 18 years in this place before she was accused of conspiracy and executed. During her imprisonment, Mary Stuart indeed planned a coup and corresponded with European monarchs and ambassadors. Of course, she considered the possibility that her letters might be intercepted, so all of them were encoded. These letters are now stored in the National Library of France in Paris. It was there that 3 friends encountered them: cryptographer from France Georges Lazary, pianist from Germany Norbert Biermann, and physicist from Japan Satoshi Tomokiyo. They were all united by an interest in cryptography, so they decided to try to decipher Mary Stuart's letters. It must be said that it took them 10 years. To decipher the meaning of the unique symbols, the researchers used computer algorithms, linguistic analysis, and other decoding methods. With the help of the created computer algorithm, they managed to decode 30% of the text, while they worked manually on the rest. In the end, the researchers were able to decipher all 57 of Mary Stuart's letters, in which she told the French ambassador to England, Michel de Castelnau, about her life in captivity, her plans against Elizabeth I, and some secrets of the royal throne. This work helped historians learn more about the life of the Queen of Scots and gain information about previously unknown events. In the spring of 2024, during excavations at an abandoned lignite mine in Panandro, Western India, paleontologists discovered fossilized remains of a snake, specifically 27 of its vertebrae. This find was sensational because the size of the vertebrae indicated that scientists had discovered a previously unknown species of the largest snake ever to have existed. This species of snake was named Vasuki indicus. Since the remains were incomplete, scientists could only estimate that its body length was between 11–15 meters and its weight could reach 1 ton. Just imagine how enormous this snake was. For example, the previous largest known snake was Titanoboa, whose body length is estimated at 13 meters. It is worth noting that the largest living snake today is the reticulated python of Asia, which can reach up to 10 meters in length. Titanoboa and Vasuki lived during the Cenozoic era, which began after the extinction of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. Most likely, these snakes led a sedentary lifestyle, waiting for their prey while lurking in swamps. Scientists do not know exactly what Vasuki fed on, but they speculate that it could have been crocodiles and other large animals. Scientists still need to further study the remains, which might allow us to learn more details about the life of this giant snake. However, to gain more information about the new species, the remains of several individuals are needed. But, unfortunately, these vertebrae are the only known sample of Vasuki remains to date. Recently, Chinese scientists made a sensational discovery. They managed to find a species of desert moss with incredible survivability. The desert moss Centrichia caninervis grows in Antarctica as well as in the Mojave Desert in the USA. It can withstand complete absence of water and extremely low temperatures. This plant species can endure temperatures below 80 degrees Celsius for 5 years and even temperatures below 160 degrees Celsius for a month, then come back to life. But that's not all. This desert moss is also resistant to gamma rays at doses around 500 grays. After such intense exposure to gamma rays, the plant fully regenerates under normal conditions. This astonishing survivability led scientists to think that this moss could be transported to Mars or the Moon. Growing plants on Mars and the Moon is a crucial foundation for the possibility of future colonization, as they help convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. Amazingly, in laboratory conditions that simulate the Martian environment, the moss demonstrated fantastic endurance. In the complete absence of water, low atmospheric pressure, and high UV radiation, the moss not only survived, but continued to sustain its growth. So it is possible that this species could become the first plant to grow on Mars. In the summer of 2024, during the construction of an overpass in Rome's Piazza Pia, workers accidentally discovered the ruins of a garden that likely belonged to Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, known in history as Emperor Caligula. The inscription on a lead water pipe indicated that these gardens indeed belonged to Caligula. The inscription stated that Caligula was the owner of this place. In addition to the water pipe, archaeologists who arrived at the site also found Roman-era ceramic tiles and terracotta figurines depicting mythological scenes that likely adorned the roofs of houses. Caligula ascended to the throne in 37 AD, succeeding Emperor Tiberius. His reign over Rome lasted only 4 years. However, this did not prevent him from going down in history as a ruler who engaged in despotism and extravagance. Some of his actions bordered on madness. His contemporaries described the emperor as cunning, treacherous, and cruel. Despite his good education, intellectual abilities, and desire to please Tiberius while he was alive, Caligula behaved utterly unbecoming of a ruler of Rome. He insulted people and used violence against members of the Senate and other subordinates. Moreover, he sometimes wore exotic clothes and even dressed as a woman. This behavior did not sit well with representatives of the Roman nobility, and ultimately he was killed by the Praetorian Guard, who were supposed to protect him. Scientists are still searching for information about how primitive bacteria and other forms of life originated. It is believed that all organisms living on our planet have a common ancestor known as Luca, the last universal common ancestor. The existence of this organism was first proposed by Charles Darwin in 1859. Luca existed when there were no bacteria, archaea, or eukaryotes on Earth. Scientists are now trying to figure out what it looked like and where it lived. This will take considerable time, but some information about Luca is already available. Since all living things descended from this ancestor, all living organisms have some common trait inherited from it. Using genome comparison methods, scientists obtained the necessary data, which suggested that Luca was a single-celled organism with circular DNA freely floating within the cell. However, some scientists still lean towards the possibility that DNA might have been absent altogether. Most likely, Luca inhabited anaerobic hydrothermal vents in a geochemically active environment enriched with hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and iron, around 3.4 billion years ago. Although Luca is the ancestor of all living organisms, it should not be considered the first living organism, as recent discoveries prove that microorganisms already existed on our planet 4,228,000,000 years ago. Volcanic lava is a molten mass ejected from volcanoes. The process of lava formation has long been known to scientists. Initially, magma is thrown out of the volcano, which subsequently, after cooling and interacting with atmospheric gases, becomes lava. Most lavas are basaltic and consist of silicon dioxide and oxides of aluminum, iron, magnesium, and other metals. Such lava is red, with a temperature ranging from 1,200 to 1,300 degrees Celsius. However, there is a unique type of lava in our world, recognized as the coldest. This lava is called Carbonatite. Unlike basaltic lava, its temperature is 600 degrees Celsius. During an eruption, it is not the familiar red but black, and a few months after cooling it becomes almost white. This lava contains almost no silicates. Instead, it mainly consists of sodium and potassium carbonates. Carbonatite lava has a strong fluidity, similar to water, and after solidifying, it becomes very brittle and dissolves in water. Amazingly, this lava flows only from the Old Doinyo Lengai volcano, located in Tanzania. This volcano is considered one of the youngest in the world and one of the most active in East Africa. Marie Tharp was born in 1920 in Michigan. Her mother was a teacher, and her father was a geologist. Marie often went on expeditions with her father, as she was very attracted to geology. In 1939, she entered Ohio University, where she periodically changed majors. Eventually, she earned a bachelor's degree in English and music, and later also became a master of geology. Marie Tharp changed jobs frequently because, at that time, women were not allowed to participate in field research. Eventually, she worked with Morris Ewing, the founder of the Lamont Geological Laboratory. There, she began studying ocean topography. Soon, Marie Tharp met geophysicist Bruce Heezen and became his assistant. Although Tharp still couldn't go on expeditions, she tried to transfer the acquired knowledge to paper. She had to spend an incredible amount of time creating a series of 6 parallel profiles of the Atlantic Ocean floor, stretching from east to west. But her efforts paid off. Tharp's images were the first to show exactly where the continental shelf begins to rise above the abyssal plain and where the Great Mountain Range protrudes from the ocean floor. This range became a real sensation. In 1957, Tharp and Heezen made history by publishing the first map of the North Atlantic Ocean floor. 20 years later, they teamed up with Austrian artist Heinrich Beran to create a map of the ocean floor. Since it was a real breakthrough, scientists and researchers were skeptical of this map. Even the famous French oceanographer Jacques-Yves Cousteau went on an expedition to disprove Tharp's theory, but instead, to everyone's surprise, he confirmed that the female geologist cartographer's map was entirely accurate. On April 26, 1986, an accident occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant located in the Ukrainian city of Pripyat. The disaster was caused by the destruction of the reactor in the 4th power unit. As a result, about 50 million curies of radioactive substances were released into the environment. The radioactive contamination spread over a large area. The area around the power plant was declared an exclusion zone. Over time, the radiation levels in this zone significantly decreased, and now only the forests and swamps near the nuclear power plant, as well as the power plant site itself, remain highly contaminated. For this reason, many scientists freely conduct research that helps them better understand the consequences of the technological disaster on the environment. In 2008, American scientists began studying the 4th reactor. There, they discovered huge clusters of previously unknown black fungi. After collecting several samples, experts began their analysis. The results of this study were shocking. It turns out that the Chernobyl fungi are not just resistant to radiation. They literally feed on it, thereby cleaning the environment from dangerous contamination. Naturally, these fungi have become the focus of many scientists, and in 2016, an interesting experiment involving them was conducted. The fungi were taken to the ISS, where they were exposed to cosmic radiation. Amazingly, the fungi managed to reduce the radiation level by approximately 2% in a short period. The discovery of the Chernobyl fungi has opened up new possibilities for scientists. They are now focused on cultivating these fungi, as they can not only help deal with environmental contamination in cases of other technological disasters, but also assist in creating anti-radiation shields that will be actively used during future expeditions to the Moon and Mars. The largest tree in the world by volume and mass is recognized as the giant sequoia named General Sherman. Its height exceeds 85 meters, the trunk volume is 1487 cubic meters, and its mass is about 1910 tons. The age of this giant is estimated to be between 2,300 and 2,700 years. Recently, a photo has appeared online, which you can see on your screens now. The authors of the photo claim that it captures an even larger tree than General Sherman. According to them, from a distance, they even mistook it for a mountain, and when they realized it was a tree, they decided to study it more closely. While examining the giant's trunk, they discovered an entire ecosystem inside it. Unfortunately, the authors of the photo did not specify where this tree is located, so scientists are unlikely to be able to study it anytime soon. In 1965, during a space flight on the Gemini 4 spacecraft, American astronauts took a photo of an astonishing object located in the Mauritanian part of the Sahara Desert. It is a geological formation with a diameter of 50 kilometers. In Mauritania, the object is known as the Richat structure, but it is called the Eye of the Sahara worldwide because its shape indeed resembles an eye. The remarkable shape of the Richat structure has drawn the attention of scientists and proponents of pseudo-scientific theories. According to scientific research, the Eye of the Sahara formed about 500 million years ago. Initially, it was thought that the geological formation resulted from a process called folding, which occurs when tectonic forces compress sedimentary rock from both sides. If the rock is cold and brittle, it can crack. If it is warm enough, a fold forms. In 2014, scientists proposed a completely different theory for the origin of the Richat structure. They believe that the presence of volcanic rock in the geological formation indicates that molten rock was pushed to the surface, forming a dome before it turned into the rings we see today. Most likely, the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea played a role in forming the Eye of the Sahara's specific shape. However, this theory has not been confirmed. Among the hypotheses about the origin of the Richat structure were theories of a meteorite impact, and even that the formation was created by aliens as a sign of surveillance over our planet. But these assumptions also lack evidence, so the Eye of the Sahara remains one of the most mysterious objects on Earth. For many years, scientists have tried to uncover the secret of pyramid construction in Egypt, and it seems that French researchers have finally managed to do so. During research conducted on the Giza Plateau, east of the pyramid complex, scientists from Aix-Marseille University in France discovered an abundance of grassy flowering plants in the bedrock. This led them to hypothesize that there was once a permanent body of water in this area. Based on the research data, scientists were able to reconstruct the ancient Egyptian landscape. This allowed them to trace the rise and fall of the water level in the Khufu branch of the Nile River. Currently, the pyramid complex is located on a sandy plain, and the nearest bank of the Nile is 8 kilometers away. But it used to be different, with the river flowing in close proximity to the pyramids. Moreover, at that time, the Nile was a large, full-flowing river with a strong current. It was precisely because of the river's current that the Egyptians could easily transport building materials. Thus, the convenient terrain and the ancient full-flowing branch of the Nile allowed for the construction of the giant pyramids. This discovery was sensational, yet scientists still cannot explain the technical means the Egyptians used to place the enormous blocks on top of each other during construction. And that's all from me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. Your engagement is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Goodbye.